She thought I was there to support her. Camera in hand, standing proud like a loyal husband. But the truth? I was documenting the end. When she kissed her boss on stage, the crowd gasped. Meh. I just hit record. Because that night wasn't her celebration. It was my setup. Viewers, what would you do if your partner's biggest achievement turned out to be your best revenge story? Subscribe, like, comment and watch till ending to share this interesting story to family and free. NDS, my name is Darius Cole, and I've learned the hard way that silence can be louder than screaming. I'm 35, a freelance video producer living in Atlanta, the kind of man who can turn strangers' memories into cinematic moments, but somehow fail to keep his own life in focus. I used to believe stories had clean endings, heroes, villains, redemption. But real life doesn't fade out to music. It cuts to black without warning. For 7 years I was married to Nia. She was bold, driven, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone straighten up. She worked in corporate PR, always in control, always rehearsed, always shining. And for a while I loved that about her. She made me feel like I belonged in her orbit, like her fire could light us both. But lately that fire started burning somewhere else. It began subtly, a shift in her laughter, a different perfume, late nights that stretched into dawn. She said her boss, Adrian, demanded perfection, that he was hands-on with projects. I wanted to believe her. I tried to. Because when you love someone long enough, denial feels safer than truth. I remember one night in particular, a Thursday. The city was quiet, and I just wrapped an edit for a commercial client. When I walked into our apartment, Nia stood by the window, phone in hand. The streetlight carved her silhouette into something distant, unreachable. Her phone lit up and I caught the message before she locked the screen. Can't wait to see you tonight, winking face, Adrian. She turned quickly, smiling the way liars do, soft, practiced. You're home early, she said, slipping the phone into her robe pocket like a magician hiding a secret. I didn't ask. I just nodded. That's the thing about betrayal. The moment it starts, your body knows before your mind catches up. Later, in bed, she turned her back to me. I watched the faint rise and fall of her breathing, counting it like seconds left on a ticking bomb. The room felt smaller, like the air itself knew what was coming. I should have confronted her that night, but I didn't. My father always said, never react when you're angry, son. Let your silence make them nervous. He was a quiet man but dangerous when wronged. Maybe that's where I got it from, that cold patience, that hunger for control. So I waited. And I watched. Every late meeting became another puzzle piece. Every new perfume another clue. I started noticing how often she mentioned Adrian's name, how his success stories found their way into our dinner conversations like uninvited guests. I still told myself it was nothing. That's the tragedy of love. It blinds you with its own mercy. But deep down I knew. And when the invitation for the award night gala arrived, when Nia said Adrian insisted I come, I felt it, that quiet prelude before disaster. I didn't know it then, but that night would change everything. Mornings used to be our time. We'd drink coffee together before the rush of work, talk about our plans, our clients, the little dreams we hadn't yet chased. But now, breakfast was just the sound of spoons clinking and the faint hum of her phone vibrating on the counter. It was a Friday, gray clouds smudging the Atlanta skyline. I poured her a cup of coffee like I always did. She didn't touch it. Her eyes were on her phone, thumbs typing fast, her face lit by the screen. I could see the reflection of Adrian's name in the glass of our kitchen window. She didn't even notice that I noticed. You're quiet lately, I said, trying to sound casual. She looked up, startled, like she'd forgotten I was there. Just a lot going on at work. Big campaign launch next week. Adrian keeping you busy? There was a pause. A flicker, that split-second hesitation that always gives liars away. Then the smile. He's demanding, yeah. But you know how it is. I nodded slowly. I didn't know how it was. I'd been around people like Adrian before. Men who loved control disguised as leadership, who fed off admiration from women they couldn't have publicly. And Nia, for all her confidence, had always been drawn to power. That was the one crack in her armor I ignored for years. When I first met her, she was an intern at a media house. Her boss back then, a married man named Simon, once mentored her too closely. She told me about it years later, how she quit rather than let herself become another office rumor. I admired her strength for that. But I'd seen something else in that story too, how easily flattery could blur her lines between ambition and affection. I started leaving small tests. Nothing obvious. I'd ask about her meetings, throw in details she hadn't mentioned before, to see if she'd correct me or play along. Every time she slipped deeper into the lie. Once she came home late, the smell of cologne clinging to her jacket, not mine. She said she'd had dinner with clients. I asked which restaurant. She froze mid-step, then said a name I knew was across town, the kind of detail you only forget when you weren't really there. That night I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through her social media while the city slept outside our window. Every post was perfectly curated, her smiling beside Adrian at team events, her captions dripping with professionalism. But then I noticed something, the way he looked at her in those photos. His hand always just close enough to hers. His smile always just too proud. The final straw came when I saw a comment under one of her posts, "Power couple energy briefcase fire." And there it was again, that small blue heart. She'd liked it. The next morning, I stared at her across the table as she scrolled through her notifications. She didn't even see me. She didn't realize I was already fading from her life. That's when I decided I wasn't going to lose my temper. I wasn't going to beg or plead. No, I was going to do what I do best. I was going to make her story cinematic. Only this time I'd be the one behind the camera. Please subscribe as you continue enjoying the story. The night of the gala invitation came wrapped in silk and false smiles. I remember it clearly, a Wednesday evening, rain whispering against the windows while I sat editing a project for a local nonprofit. The soft hum of my computer was the only sound until Nia's heels clicked across the floor. She was wearing that gold dress she saved for special occasions. "You're coming with me Saturday," she said, fastening her earrings in the mirror. "It's the annual awards night. Adrian insisted you be there. He wants to meet you properly." "Meet me?" I asked, not looking up from my laptop. "We've met." "Not like this," she said quickly. "He wants to show appreciation. You know, for being so supportive of my work." Supportive. That word hit like a bruise. I watched her reflection as she adjusted the strap of her dress. The perfume she wore wasn't the one I bought her for her birthday. It smelled expensive, sharp, intoxicating, and new. I'd noticed the bottle last week on her dresser, still half full, the label worn off from overuse. "Is that the same perfume you used at our anniversary dinner?" I asked, keeping my tone even. She paused just slightly. "Yeah," she lied too smoothly. "That's the thing about Nia, she was a perfectionist even in deceit. Her voice never cracked, her eyes never wavered. But her hands always told the truth. As she pinned her hair, I saw her fingers tremble. I saved my project and closed the laptop. "Why exactly does Adrian want me there?" She turned, her smile rehearsed, almost brittle. "Because he respects you, D. He knows how much I talk about you. He says he admires how calm you are." Come. If only he knew. In that moment, something inside me shifted. It wasn't rage, not yet. It was that quiet awareness that comes right before a storm, when the air changes and you know lightning is coming. She walked over and kissed my cheek. Her lipstick left a faint mark I didn't bother to wipe off. "Try to smile for me, okay?" After she left the room, I sat there in the quiet, staring at the wall. I could still hear my father's voice from years ago, the day he caught my mother cheating. He never yelled. He just said, "The truth doesn't need volume, it needs evidence." I remember the way he packed his things, calm and deliberate. My mother cried, begged, but his silence crushed her more than shouting ever could. He built his revenge in patience, not anger. That memory stayed with me. So I decided I'd go to that gala. Not as her husband. Not as her supporter. But as the man collecting footage for the truth. I picked up my camera from the shelf, the same one I used to film love stories for clients, and wiped the lens clean. The irony wasn't lost on me. Whatever happened that night, I was going to capture it. Because deep down I already knew, her big night wasn't going to end the way she imagined. The ballroom smelled like champagne and expensive lies. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across the crowd, a sea of executives, influencers, and people pretending to like one another. I stood near the back, camera slung across my shoulder, pretending to be just another supportive husband. In reality, I was there as a filmmaker documenting the slow death of my marriage. Nia shimmered under the lights. Her gold dress caught every flash like it was designed to steal attention. She looked untouchable, confident, radiant, and terrifyingly distant. Adrian hovered near her, tall and polished, the kind of man who smiled with ownership. They made their way through the crowd together, laughing like co-stars in a movie I didn't audition for. People came up to me, colleagues, acquaintances, congratulating me on having such a brilliant wife. I smiled, nodded, thanked them. Each compliment felt like a paper cut. Small, invisible, but deep. As the night wore on, I found myself watching them more than I should have. The way he leaned in close when he spoke to her. The way she tilted her head when she laughed. Intimacy disguised as professionalism. Every gesture choreographed to look innocent, except to me. I could see the subtext in every movement because I'd once been that close to her. When the host announced her name, the crowd erupted in applause. Employee of the Year, Nia Cole. The spotlight found her, and she froze for a heartbeat before flashing that perfect, camera-ready smile. Adrian was beside her, clapping like a proud mentor. I lifted my camera. Through the lens, the world sharpened. The stage, the lights, her trembling smile, all framed like a scene I'd edited 100 times before. As she reached the microphone, I could hear her rehearsed lines. "This award means more than I can express," she began, voice steady but eyes darting toward Adrian. "It's proof that hard work and teamwork." And then he did it. Adrian stepped forward, wrapped his arm around her waist and kissed her. Not a quick congratulatory peck. A kiss. Full, deliberate, unapologetic. The room gasped. Someone dropped a glass. Cameras flashed like gunfire. My stomach turned cold. Nia didn't pull away immediately. Her hands froze midair before she stumbled back, face pale. Adrian smiled at her, smug, whispering something I couldn't hear, but her eyes flicked to me. That's when the world slowed down. Our eyes met. For a second, everything else vanished. The music, the chatter, the applause fading into static. Just her and me. The woman who used to say I was her piece, now standing under lights that exposed everything she'd become. I lowered the camera. I couldn't film anymore. Not because I couldn't bear it, but because I didn't need to. That one moment, that kiss was burned into me. I'd seen what I came for. When the crowd erupted again, pretending to recover, I walked out quietly. She didn't follow. Outside, the air was cold, the city humming below like nothing had happened. But inside, I knew something irreversible had broken. And though I didn't know it yet, that kiss, her triumph turned public humiliation, would become the first clip in my revenge film. The drive home was a blur of headlights and silence. I didn't play music. I didn't speak. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles whitened. Nia sat beside me, her award in her lap, like some twisted symbol of victory. The car smelled faintly of her perfume, jasmine and something metallic, like guilt trying to disguise itself as grace. She tried to speak once. "Darius, what you saw was exactly what it looked like." I cut in, my voice calm, too calm. She turned to face me, eyes glassy. "He kissed me." "I didn't." "You didn't stop him." Silence again. The kind that builds walls higher than anger ever could. We pulled into the driveway. I left the car running and got out without looking at her. Inside, I poured a drink, downed it, poured another. She followed me in, heels clicking like an echo of everything polished and fake about her new life. "You're not even going to ask what happened?" she said, voice trembling. "I already know," I replied. "You've been pulling away for months. The late nights. The phone turned face down. The smell of someone else's cologne on your coat. I just didn't want to believe it." Tears welled in her eyes. "It's not what you think, Darius. Adrian and I." "Don't insult me," I said, turning to her fully. "I make a living studying expressions. You think I can't read yours?" Her lips quivered, then tightened into defiance. "You've been distant too. Always with your camera. Always in your head. Maybe I just need it." "Don't," I interrupted again, my voice sharp this time. "Don't try to make your betrayal poetic." She flinched. For a second I thought she'd apologize. But she didn't. Instead she whispered, "Maybe we both lost ourselves." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing the kiss. The smug tilt of Adrian's mouth. The shock on hers. My reflection in every mirrored surface looked foreign, like a man auditioning for the role of someone he no longer believed in. When dawn broke, I was still awake, sitting by my desk with my camera in hand. I scrolled through old footage, our first anniversary, the morning we moved in, her laughing while I filmed her making pancakes. Each clip was a ghost. And somewhere between exhaustion and clarity, I realized I wasn't going to confront her again. I wasn't going to scream or plead or beg her to remember who we were. I was going to tell a story, one that the entire world would see. A story where her truth would destroy her far more beautifully than I ever could. The plan started small. I began editing footage, combining clips of our life together with her recent work events. It looked like a documentary at first, the rise of Nia Cole. But I knew what it really was, a slow descent disguised as a success story. Each day, I collected fragments, her social media posts, the company's behind-the-scenes interviews, candid shots from her colleagues. People overshare when they think they're admired. I used that to my advantage. At night, I recorded voiceovers. Calm, reflective tones that sounded almost admiring. When success becomes an addiction, I said in one take, the person you love turns into a stranger chasing applause. I didn't have to lie. I just had to show the truth differently. Meanwhile, at home, Nia tried to pretend we were healing. She cooked dinner, made small talk, even laughed at old jokes. But her eyes gave her away, they never met mine for long. She'd lost the rhythm of authenticity, and every attempt to fake it only highlighted how far gone she was. One night, while she showered, I went through her phone. I didn't need to, but I wanted confirmation, the kind of evidence that burns. There it was, text from Adrian. You were incredible tonight. He doesn't appreciate you like I do. Soon. The word hit harder than the kiss itself. I copied everything, sent it to myself, then put her phone back where I found it. She never noticed. By the end of the week, I had enough footage to craft something powerful. I edited through nights, eyes bloodshot, heart numb. Scene by scene, I built the narrative, her rise, her ego, her cracks. The climax, the kiss on stage. I slowed it down, zoomed in, layered it with her earlier words about loyalty and ambition. It was art, painful, devastating art. But I wasn't finished. I needed one more piece, her confession. So I set up hidden cameras in the living room. Subtle. Unnoticeable. And then I waited. A few days later, she came home late. I confronted her gently this time, almost tenderly. Nia, I just want to know the truth. Did you love him? She sighed, sat on the couch, face tired. I don't know. Maybe I loved how he made me feel seen. Her voice cracked. You stopped looking at me like I was special. I said nothing. Just listened. She kept talking. About her insecurities, her hunger for validation, how Adrian filled the silence I left behind. Every word was raw. Honest. Perfect. When she finished, I held her hand. Thank you for telling me. She smiled faintly, thinking it was forgiveness. But the cameras had captured everything. 2 weeks later, the final cut was done. I called it, The Illusion of Loyalty. The video opened with her laughter, soft, magnetic, the kind that once pulled me in. Then it shifted, slowly unraveling her double life. The audience would see what I saw, a woman consumed by ambition, blinded by admiration, corrupted by flattery. I didn't post it yet. Timing was everything. I wanted maximum impact. When her company announced their annual press gala, I knew it was the moment. She would be presenting a new mentorship program, the very one Adrian had helped her design. The event would be streamed live. I volunteered to handle the technical side of the live stream. No one questioned it. I'd done freelance production for them before. The night of the gala, Nia was radiant again, dressed in deep red this time, not gold. Power red. Redemption red. Or so she thought. I stood behind the control booth, my fingers trembling slightly over the switchboard. I queued up the video, hidden within the presentation files. When the host announced her segment, the lights dimmed and the big screen behind her flickered on. She began her speech confidently, smiling, unaware. And then my video started playing. At first, it looked like part of her presentation, clips of her working, laughing, shaking hands. The audience clapped. She smiled proudly. Then the tone shifted. The footage of the kiss appeared. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her smile froze. My voice played over the speakers. Sometimes, ambition demands sacrifices. Sometimes, the ones sacrificed never see it coming. The crowd fell silent. The montage continued, her texts, her confession, her contradictions. Every secret laid bare. She turned toward me, eyes wide with disbelief. I stood motionless, watching her realize the scale of it. The audience whispered, phones came out, and in seconds her empire began to crumble. The lights flickered. The host tried to cut the feed, but it was too late. By the time the video ended, she was trembling, tears streaking her makeup. Adrian had vanished. The applause that followed was slow, pitying, cruel. I left before security arrived. I didn't need to see the aftermath. I'd seen enough. That night, I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt hollow. The city outside was alive, but I felt detached from it, like watching life through a lens again. I sat by the window, drink in hand, scrolling through the online reactions. The video had gone viral within hours. People debated, speculated, mocked. Some pitied her. Most didn't. My phone buzzed nonstop, colleagues, strangers, journalists. I ignored them all. Then came the text from her. Why, Darius? You've ruined me. I typed and deleted my reply 3 times before finally sending, No, Nia. You ruined yourself. I just pressed play. The typing dots appeared. Then vanished. She didn't respond again. 4 days I avoided everything, the news, the comments, the guilt. But guilt has a way of creeping in when silence stretches too long. One night, I found her award still sitting on the shelf. I picked it up, turned it over in my hands and saw the engraved words, "For excellence and integrity." The irony hit hard. I drove to her apartment. She opened the door, eyes sunken, voice fragile. "You shouldn't be here." "I came to return this," I said, handing her the award. She laughed bitterly. "You could have just mailed it." "I wanted to see you," I admitted. "To know if you're okay." She looked at me for a long time before saying, "You got your revenge, Darius. Congratulations. But it doesn't feel good, does it?" I didn't answer, because she was right. When I left, she didn't stop me. But as I walked away, I heard her whisper, "I hope someday you forgive me. And yourself." Months passed. The video faded from the internet, buried under new scandals. But I carried its echo everywhere. People still recognized me sometimes, that guy who exposed his wife. I started a new documentary project, Aftermath. It wasn't about betrayal this time. It was about consequences. In one interview, someone asked me, "Do you think revenge heals?" I paused before answering. No. It just pauses the pain long enough for you to feel something else. Behind the camera, I caught my reflection. Older, heavier, but more honest. One evening, I got a message from Nia. No words, just a link. It was her new channel. She was telling her side, not to deny, but to reflect. She spoke about power, guilt, and redemption. And at the end, she said softly, "This isn't a story about a villain or a victim. It's about two broken people who mistook silence for peace." For the first time in months, I smiled. Not because I forgave her, but because I finally understood that pain doesn't end, it evolves. Tonight, I stand on the rooftop, camera rolling, city lights below like molten gold. I'm recording the final shot for Aftermath. The lens focuses on me now. No script, no edits. Just truth. "My name is Darius Cole," I say. "And I once believed revenge would set me free. But freedom doesn't come from destruction. It comes from acceptance. She betrayed me, yes. But I betrayed myself long before, by staying quiet, by filming instead of feeling." The wind picks up. In the distance, I can hear music from a rooftop party. Life moving on. I lower the camera, turn it off, and whisper to the empty air, "Revenge doesn't taste sweet, it just stops the bleeding for a while." And for the first time, the bleeding finally stops. Subscribe, like, comment, and share for more interesting stories.